Welcome to Three Count Commentaries. This is your host, MagMongoSlade. So, WWE and Gabe Sapolsky are both have been removed from the Samantha Tavel, aka Candy Cartwright, lawsuit. For those of you who don't know what I'm talking about, Candy Cartwright claims that she was sexually assaulted by Matt Riddle while on a bus during an Evolve show in question in 2018. This came out during the Speaking Out allegations. So we're going to go through the PW Insider article about this. I believe PW Insider does a really good job of going into detail and getting details when it comes, especially to legal matters. So I trust their information. So we're going to read the long article. It's a long article. And we're going to give some feedback as we go along. So this video probably going to be a good 25 minutes. Oh, God. But this ought to give us a good idea of what's going on. The too long didn't read version, if you don't want to listen to the whole video, is that Gabe Sapolsky successfully argued that he did not provide them with the van to travel. Those were not Evolve vehicles that they were traveling in, that Tavel and Riddle were not Evolve employees, that he did not hire Samantha Tavel to come to Illinois on that event. He did not reimburse her to do the event, and that she actually had an ability to go perform somewhere else. She chose to come to the Evolve show in Illinois, and that other people were in the vehicle and these kinds of things. Basically, he successfully proved that he was in no way connected to this. Okay, that's why he got removed from the, and that's where a lot of this information is going to come from. It's going to come from Gabe Sapolsky. So if you want to know the details, we're about to get into the details as I read the PW Insider article on Gabe Sapolsky. So this is from March the 24th, 2021. World Wrestling Entertainment and Gabe Sapolsky were each terminated as defendants today by United States District Court, Northern District of Illinois Judge Manish S. Shah in the lawsuit brought against them. WWE Raw star Matt Riddle and Evolve star Samantha Tavel, who wrestles as Candy Cartwright. Judge Shah issued a 14-page ruling this afternoon. PW Insider can confirm that Riddle's attempt to dismiss the lawsuit was denied by the court. So in other words, Riddle is still being sued. The court ruled that Tavel failed to argue factually that the court held any jurisdiction over WWE or Sapolsky and could not prove that either were in any way connected to her claims against Riddle. Sapolsky filed a motion to dismiss on January the 8th, noting several different reasons why the court should dismiss proceedings against him, while also responding specifically to Tavel's allegations against him. Obviously, the court sided with Sapolsky. It should be noted that there have been a lot of wrestling journalists, one of whom who name I will not mention, has been posting around this email, supposedly of Drake Wirtz, the NXT referee, saying that they can't use Samantha Tavel due to issues with talent. This wrestling journalist has been saying that this proves that WWE was involved in this. Apparently, this judge disagrees. All right, so this is why you should, check your information. The motion argued that the court should dismiss the complaint because the court lacks jurisdiction over Sapolsky, as he does not live in Illinois, does not own any property in the state, and is only in the state sparingly for work reasons. So there is no reason the court should hold jurisdiction over him and expect him to regularly appear in court for the legal proceedings. The motion to dismiss also argued, quote, as an initial matter, it is important to point out that Mr. Sapolsky did not hire Ms. Tavel to perform at the event. She came to the event on her own volition, insisted on attending the event, and paid her own expenses. That attached pieces of evidence featuring private messages between Sapolsky and Tavel from her Twitter DMs, where Tavel tells Sapolsky that she has the option of taking a local independent booking in the Northeast the same weekend as Evolved is running Illinois and Michigan. Sapolsky tells her there are no cars driving from New York to the events that weekend, to feel free to take the other booking over Evolve, and that they can continue using her on the next Evolve events, since they will have only used her in, quote, quick angles on the shows in question. In the exchange, Tavel told Sapolsky that she sees Evolve and WWN, that's the World Wrestling Network, as a top priority, and later reaches out to him to tell Sapolsky that she has booked her own flight to the events and will be there. So Gabe Sapolsky told her, you got another booking, go do it. We don't really need you for Chicago and Livonia. She took a flight to Chicago on her own. So she put herself there, okay? That's very important. The motion in January also stated that Sapolsky did not hire Tavel to perform at the event, and thus she was not an employee for Evolve. The motion notes that Evolve has only ever had 2 employees, Gabe Sapolsky and Sal Hamoy. It claimed that Tavel, quote, came to the event of her own volition, insisted on attending the event, and paid her own expenses. It also noted that Matt Riddle was not an employee of Evolve and appeared at the show as an independent contractor. As a wrestler, that's the correct that's the correct assignment. And this is about to be a long quote. The motion to dismiss also noted, and this is a quote, further decreasing the event's relevance, Ms. Tavel does not allege that Mr. Riddle assaulted her during the event. Instead, she claims Mr. Riddle assaulted her, quote, after the Evolve event while on a bus leaving the event, a bus that was neither provided by Mr. Sapolsky nor Evolve. In fact, the bus was not even a bus, but an old van belonging and driven by Mr. Ranta. Moreover, Mr. Sapolsky was not in Mr. Ranta's van with Riddle and Tavel and had no knowledge of the events once the couple left Evolve 104 show. Accordingly, any connection between the Evolve event or Mr. Sapolsky and the complaint's allegations terminated long before the alleged assault that forms the basis of the complaint had occurred. Indeed, as the complaint makes clear, the alleged assault did not occur until after Mr. Ranta began driving his personal van and its passengers from the Indiana Denny's to his Michigan home. The May 19th event, Mr. Sapolsky's sole connection to the state of Illinois, is not causally connected to the conduct alleged in support of Count 4. The assault did not occur at the Evolve 104 event or in Illinois. The assault did not occur at Evolve 104 events or in Illinois. The assault did not occur in a vehicle provided by Mr. Sapolsky or Evolve. Mr. Sapolsky was not present during the alleged assault, and the complaint does not allege that he had any advanced knowledge of the assault. The alleged assault happened in a private vehicle occupied by individuals that voluntarily decided to travel together. The allegations underlying the complaint therefore do not arise directly out of any actions by Mr. Sapolsky or Evolve in Summit, Illinois on May 19, 2018. Consequently, this court cannot exercise specific jurisdiction over Mr. Sapolsky and should dismiss Count 4 of the complaint. That's a lot. That's a lot to take in. The long and the short of it, this didn't even happen in Illinois. So why this whole thing wasn't thrown out completely, I'll never know. But that's an interesting little twist there, because they're about to go into the long drive and who was present and all that type of stuff. So Sapolsky's motion also incorporated some of Riddle's previous response that a videographer named Joseph M. Ranta transported numerous performers from the venue to their hotel in Michigan in his van, as there was another Evolve event in Livonia, Michigan the next day. Riddle's previous response featured an affidavit filed by Ranta, as well as photos of the exterior and interior of his van. Rant's affidavit stated that On the evening in question, then Evolve talents Keith Lee, Anthony Henry, and J.D. Drake were also in the van with Drake, sitting in the front passenger seat, Henry and Lee in the center seats, and Riddle and Tavel in the back seats. All right, so I've been in these kind of vans before. I used to actually work in these kinds of vans. It's pretty easy to see that if these guys are two, they're in the back seat. So it makes sense that if they were going to do something sexually, they can do it in the back seat of the van because they're behind everybody. Right? Now, Ranta, if he's driving, he could probably see him in the mirror. He could probably see it. But we're about to get into why that's important in a second. The records from Ranta's GPS on the evening in question were also filed as evidence, noting that they left Summit Park District in Illinois on May the 20th, 2018 at 12:26 a.m. So that's when they started to drive. They stopped for gas and left that gas station at 12:34 a.m. Then drove 33 miles to a Denny's restaurant, arriving in Portage, Indiana on 1:22 a.m., 48 minutes later, stating that they entered Indiana 36 minutes into their drive, around 1:10 a.m. Ranta's affidavit stated that out of all of the passengers, only Keith Lee fell asleep during the drive to Denny's, and that the other 4 passengers were awake. Okay. Ranta's affidavit also stated that everyone exited the Denny's at 2:35 a.m., then drove 2 hours and 37 minutes to Ranta's home in Mason, Michigan. Ranta stated that Drake, Lee, and Henry had all fallen asleep during that drive, with himself, Riddle, and Tavel all being awake the entire ride. Ranta stated he, Tavel, and Riddle spent 12 minutes at Ranta's home before he drove everyone to the Comfort Inn Metro Airport near Detroit, Michigan, where the wrestlers were staying. The affidavit does not mention that any alleged assault took place, but also does not deny one happened. In other words, Ranta sent a note to the court saying, hey, these are the people who are in my car. This is my car. This is my van. These were the people who were in it. This is where they were sitting. Okay. Drake, passenger seat. Anthony Henry, Keith Lee, middle seats. Tavel, Riddle in the back seat. Keith Lee falls asleep on the way to the Denny's. Now, of course, they had to wake him up. They go eat. They come out. On the way from the Denny's to Michigan, everyone except Riddle and Tavel were still asleep. Or asleep in the driver. I'm guessing Ranta was the driver. That means if she were sexually assaulted, it was likely to have happened when everyone was asleep. And she says that they were asleep. Right? Which means that Ranta could have seen it occur in the mirrors, right? Because he would have to be woke in order to drive the car, unless they switched to seating. Now, it's entirely possible that, he drove to the Denny's and then maybe they switched drivers or something like that, but it doesn't say that here. So that's very interesting. Riddle's filing, going back to the article, Riddle's filing featured the following claim: attempting to state that if any event even happened, it most likely did not transpire in Illinois due to the timeline of the travel under the GPS history compared to Tavel's June 19th Twitter post that first raised the allegations. Riddle had previously argued in his own motion for dismissal that, quote, it is implausible that Mr. Riddle would ask to engage in sexual intercourse in front of other members of Evolve while on a bus. End of quote. Immediately after performing at a wrestling event without any witnesses in a small but full vehicle, if that did happen, no matter the size of the vehicle, surely someone would have noticed the assault and said something. So that's basically common sense. Right? That's a common sense argument, saying that, look, if we were in a small van, if you were sexually assaulted in a small van, somebody would have seen it. Now, I will say this. This has nothing to do with Riddle. I'm not saying that this happened or not. What I will say is I have seen women get a little crazy and do sex acts to guys while other people were watching. So it's not entirely implausible that, somebody will want to engage in sex acts in front of other people. Not implausible at all. All right. In fact, I've seen it at least happen at least once. Okay. That, sometimes people just don't care. They don't have those inhibitions. We don't know, sometimes it's drugs, it's alcohol and stuff like that. Sometimes you just don't care, or if other people already know, you might not have any shame, no matter, depending on how close you are. So is it possible that, Matt Riddle wanted her to go down on him while he was in the backseat of his van? Everyone was asleep except the driver. He figured maybe that guy's not paying attention. Maybe he's got the radio on or something like that. Maybe. But what I particularly think is interesting is that the lawsuit or the affidavit is not claiming that something took place. It's also not saying that something did not take place. What they're just stating is strictly the facts. We're not saying this is what happened. We're saying this is where those people were. These people were asleep. These people were awake. If this happened, this likely happened here at this particular point in time. Strictly the facts. Now, Riddle's claim is that, well, it's not likely that he would have asked to do some type of sex act in front of other people. Well, while that's a common sense argument, it's not exactly a good one because I have known people to do that. People do that. You can't really play on people's common sense that everyone is ashamed of sex. You can't really play on that because not everybody is ashamed of sex. Some people are kind of like, well, I can, these are my homeboys. They're not going to say nothing. They're not going to do nothing. That's, a point in Tavel's, box as far as I'm concerned. If, you're friends with these guys, it's likely that they probably could have turned the other cheek and be like, okay, whatever. I don't care what's going on over there, But if it was a sexual assault, would somebody have said something you would expect it to, So it's a generally good idea, but, you can't, hang your hat completely on that. Let's get back to the article. In his motion to dismiss, Sapolsky also argued that Tavel's lawsuit failed to state a cognizable claim under the Illinois Gender Violence Act, noting, Gender Violence Act? What the hell is that? I'm glad I don't live in Illinois. It's a state run by certain kinds of people. Anyway, Ms. Tavel pleads, pursuant to the Illinois state statute detailed above, that Mr. Sapolsky had a duty of ordinary care to avoid causing injury and or harmful or offensive contact, harmful or offensive contact, I should say, including acts of gender violence, and to refrain from encouraging or assisting tortious conduct, including acts of gender violence, committed by Mr. Riddle against her. As an initial matter, the statute does not set forth liability for common law breaches of duty, as the complaint pleads. Instead, to be liable, i.e. a quote-unquote perpetrator under the act, the defendant must either, quote, personally commit the gender-related violence or personally encourage or assist the act or acts of gender-related violence. The complaint does not set forth any facts showing Mr. Sapolsky as a perpetrator under either of the criteria. It does not allege Mr. Sapolsky personally committed an act of gender-related violence against Ms. Tavel. Instead, Ms. Tavel alleges Mr. Sapolsky, quote, by and through its agents and or employees, violated the act. Importantly, Mr. Sapolsky is not a corporate entity and does not have any agents or employees. Even if that were so, the complaint does not specifically allege who these agents, employees are, how Mr. Sapolsky controlled their actions in such a way that they could be said to be his agents or employees, or how these purported employees or agents specifically, quote, encouraged or assisted in the commission of gender violence acts against Ms. Tavel. The complaint labels, quote, labels and conclusions without factual support are insufficient to plead more than speculative relief. That's pretty good. That's a pretty good argument. Saying that, hey, Mr. Sapolsky is just a guy. He doesn't have any agents or employees. So ultimately, how is he responsible to this? How is he tangentially connected to this situation? And saying that Ms. Tavel provided no evidence to say that he is connected to this nonsense. In regard to the allegations that Riddle had told Sapolsky about his alleged abuse of Tavel, Sapolsky's motion noted, quote, "The complaint does not allege Mr. Riddle ever informed Mr. Sapolsky that Ms. Tavel had rejected his advances before the violence ceased entirely. Even if such knowledge is attributed to Mr. Sapolsky, it cannot infer encouragement or assistance by him of acts of gender violence by Mr. Riddle to Mrs. Tavel, because the so-called tacit approval removing Mrs. Tavel from future bookings occurred after the violence had ended. As federal and Illinois courts uniformly hold, these deficient allegations foreclose a cause of action against Mr. Sapolsky." Okay, that's a tough one. So Mr. Sapolsky is claiming that Riddle didn't tell him that that Candy Cartwright had refused to do any sex acts and that she should be punished for that, which means to be removed from future bookings. In that sense, the violence had already occurred by the time he knew. It couldn't have been because of this whole ordeal, right? Saying that even if he did know, he knew after the fact. So it's not like he knew that he was going to do that or knew at that point in time. So the dismissal motion was accompanied by a statement from Sapolsky noting, in part, Sapolsky was not in Illinois in April 2017. A weekend, Tavel had accused Riddle of attacking her in her lawsuit. There was no Evolve event in Illinois that weekend, and Riddle has previously stated that he believes Tavel is referring to a consensual encounter the two had in New York that weekend. Sapolsky stating he was not in Illinois is obviously to point out a factual inaccuracy in the original lawsuit because the error further distances him from Illinois jurisdiction. Evolve did not arrange transportation for talents working the May 2018 weekend that Tavel alleges. Okay, I was wrong. Evolve did arrange for transportation for talents working the May 2018 weekend that Tavel alleges Riddle sexually assaulted her. But neither Tavel nor Riddle traveled in the pre-arranged Evolve transport van. The statement is accompanied by a receipt for a van rented by Brandon Toll, who is now an Impact referee, and that can a completely different car than the one that Riddle has previously submitted photos and details of in his denials of Tavel's accusations against him. So there's a separate car is involved in this, a car different from the one Riddle has sent pictures of. So Sapolsky is arguing that whatever may have happened, it could not have happened on his or Evolve's watch, since neither Riddle nor Tavel traveled in any vehicles arranged by Evolve for Evolve talents. Sapolsky stated that he did not ask Tavel to appear at that weekend in question, did not reimburse her expenses, did not hire her or Riddle as employees for himself or Evolve, and did not ask Tavel to appear on the Michigan event the day after the alleged assault. So that while Sapolsky and WWE have been removed as defendants, Tavel's lawsuit will continue against Riddle and Evolve itself. Given the latter has shut down and was sold off to WWE, it may be that Riddle will remain the lone defendant in this case. That is a good summary. That is a good summary of events. And so that's the update. Gabe Sapolsky, has successfully removed himself from this lawsuit, and WWE has also been removed from the lawsuit. Now, I noticed that there was a substantial lack of WWE involvement in this, but of course, if Sapolsky is not involved, how can WWE possibly be involved, right? Like, how could they possibly have anything to do with the Evolve show in 2018 in Chicago? Like, you have to show how they were involved in this. This is why it's important that, people learn the proper language of employees and independent contractors, that people are hired to do certain things. If Samantha Tavel got into a van with somebody that she knew and trusted, being this photographer or whatever, and all the boys knew him and they were all going to the same place, they could have all just voluntarily got together and say, hey, we'll just ride together, split the van, split up the costs or whatever, and we'll all go together. that doesn't mean it was arranged by Evolve, right? That's just people doing their own thing. And this kind of goes to the whole college campus situation too. And I don't want to get too deep into this, but there's too many times where students will do something off campus and then they'll try to loop the school in. They'll say, oh, the school did this, they did that, or whatever. It's like you weren't on campus and the school did not provide you with any transportation to or from this event. You went on your own. Why is the school even involved? So that's the situation here with Evolve. It's like, why is Evolve involved in this when they didn't provide the vehicle? And it wasn't their, what happened took place after their show, meaning you came to their show completely of your own volition, no different than a fan, really. You chose to get in this van with these other people. You chose to go from this show to the next show, again, of your own volition. Then, and you agreed to do that, and I didn't provide you with that vehicle. How am I involved in whatever happened? Whether it happened or not, I'm not involved in it, right? And that's basically what Gabe Sapolsky has been saying, and that is what the courts agree with. So there has been other people, other wrestling journalists have tried to do their best to rope WWE and Drake Wirtz, I believe it was, who was booking talent for Evolve. I believe it was Drake Wirtz. Hopefully I'm not wrong on that. They have been trying to loop all of them together because, salacious stuff is what they do. But it's very important that you look at we're not getting all of the information. This is why I like PW Insider on this particular issue, on these issues considering legal issues. They do a good job of getting details. When this is an important thing, details are important in legal proceedings. Details are important when you start saying that people are rapists, right? Now they're saying that, okay, even if it did occur, it might not have even occurred in Illinois. It might not have even occurred at the event that she said it did. It might not even occurred at the event in question. It's not likely that it might have occurred, not have occurred, because other people were involved and were awake and could have seen it. So you have to ask the question. This is why you should, wonder why you calling people rapists and stuff like that. You need some details first. People would just dump whatever they want into the internet. And I'm not saying that it didn't happen. What I'm saying is, as you unravel a lot of these layers and you look at the court documents and what the people are arguing in these court documents, it becomes more and more difficult to believe that it happened. Okay. And that's really all you need. But this is a civil lawsuit. And in the United States, civil law is different from criminal law. This is why almost always people get sued, because it's easier to prove something happened in a civil court than it does in a criminal court. So it's a completely different standard. So, but I hope that they manage to clean this up soon, because I know these things get very expensive, and these people are just they're suing and countersuing each other, and it's getting real ridiculous. But Gabe Sapolsky is out of this. He's done. So I'm pretty sure he's happy. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. Like this video, share this video, subscribe to the channel. Thank you guys for your time, and I'll talk to you guys later. Peace out. Please, if you want, send cash to the Cash App, and use the hashtag 3ConCommentary to support the channel and further things along. Thank you guys for your time, and I'll talk to you guys later.
Yeah, shed light. I know what that's like.